Good morning and welcome to Radio Friends on Friday, August 25th. Our next guest hasn't been with us for a little while. It's good to have you back. JOAN STACK.
Yeah, good morning.
From the State Historical Society. And you are here to talk about a special event that you have coming up on Saturday, August the 26th.
That's right, yes.
Yeah, very soon.
Yes, tomorrow.
What is it?
Well, you know, we have an exhibition up right now, which I think is a pretty important exhibition. It's an exhibition of George Caleb Bingham's portraits. And I will be giving a curator's tour, a walkthrough, tomorrow at 1:30 at the State Historical Society, where I will talk about some of these portraits and the different types of portraits that George Caleb Bingham created throughout his lifetime.
So, how many portraits do you have up, and how long have they been there?
Well, we have a number of loans in this show. So some of the portraits people who have visited the Historical Society will never have seen before. And we have over 20 portraits on display.
20?
Yeah, so a large number, many from the State Historical Society, including some paintings that have been attributed to Bingham in the past that we're not sure are actually by him.
Really?
But we also...
Well, so how do you clarify that?
Well, I mean, some of them are well documented, so we are able to find letters and various documents that document that these are paintings that Bingham created. Others have been attributed to Bingham over the years by experts, and others, you know, it's a family tradition that it's by Bingham. So it was interesting to put these, I think there's 6 of them out.
That you're not quite sure of?
We're not quite sure. But once we put them out, it became more clear to me that they probably were not by him, because you could compare them on the wall with these ones that are clearly by him. Yes, and you can see that they are just lacking.
So the ones that you think may not be by him, do you have any idea who the artist is?
Well, sometimes there's one that was painted in Columbia that we think may have been by one of his students, because Bingham was at the University of Missouri teaching art students in the 1870s.
But you have no way of really
of identifying the
that.
student. Yeah, that seems to relate to Bingham in stylistically. But there's another painting that we think may be by a German immigrant artist by the name of Eichbaum. Others we don't know. I mean, there were lots of artists around, lots of immigrants, lots of itinerant artists.
And there's no signatures on it?
Very rarely do we find signatures. Bingham rarely signed his portraits. In fact, only 2 of the portraits in the exhibition by Bingham are signed.
So it's somewhat of a mystery.
That's right.
And really very intriguing.
That's right, yes. And another really exciting thing about this exhibition is we have a number of figures from Columbia's 19th century history. And I wanted to talk about one of the loans that we have.
Okay.
And let me pull that one out. This is a portrait of Sally Todd, who was married to Robert Todd, who was the nephew of Mary Todd Lincoln.
Really?
And so we had Lincoln's nephew here in town, and we have this wonderful portrait of a mother and her daughter Matilda, so she would have also been related to Mary Todd Lincoln. George Caleb Bingham painted this picture in 1860, so you can imagine they may have been talking politics in the Todd home. So it was painted right here in Columbia. One of the things we're kind of interested in this show is what were the functions of these portraits, and this would have hung in the parlor of the Todd home. And it's interesting because it really emphasizes Sally Todd's role as a mother and the generational aspect of the family. And so you'll find different things are emphasized in different portraits.
Yeah. When I look at this, now obviously this is a photograph of that.
The painting.
But when I look at it, the painting itself is so well done, it looks like a photograph.
Well, kind of, yes. And
when you look at Bingham's work, it looks like a photograph.
Well, you know, not like the photorealists of today, but it has, one of the things he does is he puts things in and out of focus. So the face is more in focus than perhaps the background, which is how we see things, and often how photographers deal with their photographs. They'll have the foreground in focus and the background out of focus. So you'll see Bingham playing those sorts of games. The Todd portrait is just a beautiful portrait. It was lent to us by Tom Hall, who's Arrow Rock, and he's a descendant of this family. So really exciting to have this painting that's usually in a private collection. One of Bingham's personal favorites.
Yeah. You have another one then?
Yes. We also have portraits that served other functions, and one of them is very interesting. People will recognize him as soon as they enter the gallery. It's a copy of Gilbert Stuart's portrait of Thomas Jefferson, and it was painted by Bingham as a study for an over life-size portrait of Thomas Jefferson that hung in the state capitol. And what's interesting about that is you think about why put a portrait of Thomas Jefferson in the Missouri state capitol. Well, there's several reasons. Obviously, it's Jefferson City, so that's one reason. But also, it helped to represent an aspect of Missouri's government, and that is its connection with the larger government of the United States.
Right.
Missouri was a new state at that time, so putting a portrait of Thomas Jefferson connected it with its own history. It was part of the Louisiana Purchase, which Jefferson made, and so these portraits tell us something about the places where they hung.
When I look at this portrait of Thomas Jefferson, I have one question for you, if you can answer it or not. His forehead is really highlighted. It's much lighter than the rest of his face. Was there a reason for that?
Well, that's interesting. I never thought of that before, but of course Thomas Jefferson was known for his great mind. So this may be something that Gilbert Stuart and Bingham want to emphasize, really call attention to the brain, the head of Thomas Jefferson.
Because the forehead is really emphasized. So that there's a lot of brain in that forehead there.
Yes, I think so, yes.
That could be subliminal.
Yes, yes, and artists did that sort of thing all the time. And finally, I have a portrait of someone else who's well known in Columbia. His name is James Rollins, and many people in Columbia have driven down Rollins Street.
Yeah.
He was an important leader in Columbia. He also served as a representative from the state of Missouri during the Civil War. So he was an important leader. He's also known as the father of the University of Missouri.
Okay.
So this painting hung in the University of Missouri Academic Hall before it burned in the late 19th century.
Okay, so if you want to find out more about this, it'll be Saturday, August 26th at 1:30. Joan, you will be doing it. You'll be heading up the whole thing at the State Historical Society.
In Ellis Library on the MU campus.
Okay.
Yes.
Always a pleasure having you here, Joan. You are really a fountain of information. Monday, Melanie Kanoki will be here, Columbia Public Schools Planetarium. If there's something you'd like to hear or see, I'd love to hear from you. Just drop me an email, pepperp@missouri.edu. Again, thanks, JOAN Stack. Have a good weekend.
Thanks.
Bye.